So this is my active listening assignment, Jeff Negus, and this is my brother Jeremy. I will be interviewing my brother Jeremy about various topics, whatever comes up, and I think, all right, let's go.
Okay.
So, Jeremy, first of all, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you are a principal, and you've just recently moved back to Iowa City. Tell me about how easy it was to move from Keokuk. I'm sorry, I'm taking a quick glance at time. You used to be in Keokuk, Iowa,
Right.
which is a fairly small town. What were some of the challenges in coming to Iowa City, which is a much larger, more established district?
Sure. I think one of the biggest challenges is, one of the great things is there's a lot of resources available in Iowa City. And so one of the biggest challenges is trying to identify and connect the dots and figure out who is in what role. So when I'm aware of a need in my school or aware of a need in the community, whether it be a family member, I know a family that's in need of assistance or in need of a translator. My school has about 33% ESL population, so their primary language is not English. And I have also an 80% free and reduced lunch population, so 80% of my kids are below the poverty line. So when I know of a need or hear of a need, I just need to know. I know that the resource is out there. It's just trying to figure out who to contact and identifying the people that can help. So that's been one of the biggest learning curves, I think, is just trying to identify who can help with the needs that we have.
So you said that you were coming from a much smaller district.
Right.
How many schools were in the Keokuk district, and then how many are now in the Iowa City district?
The Keokuk district, I worked at a K-3 building. Every single kid that was in the city in Keokuk went to that building, K-3. So it's about a population of 10,000. The schools that you asked about, so we had one K-3 building, we had one 4-5 building, and then one 6-8 building, and then a high school. So basically 4 buildings, and then also there was a district preschool.
Wow. And so in Iowa City now,
Yeah.
how many? What's the size difference?
Totally different. So 20 elementary schools, 3 junior highs. They're only grades 6, 7, or 7, 8. The elementary schools are K6, and then 2, soon to be 3 high schools. They're building a new high school. And so, like I said, with my current school in Iowa City, there's a lot of, like I said, resources out there. What I noticed, the contrast in the small town was, a lot of the time I was it. I had to figure out kind of on my own how to figure this out. And we also didn't have nearly as big of a ESL population. I think maybe we had 3 or 4 students out of 600 that spoke English as a second language. So, but that was one of the biggest contrasts, is a lot of the things in terms of curriculum and state reporting and stuff like that. We may have somebody now in an office that does that. A lot of that was me. So.
Oh wow. So I'm not a principal. What are some of the things on maybe a day-to-day basis that you do as an elementary principal?
Sure, good question. Supervision is a big thing. So lunch is really big for me. Every kid in the school goes through lunch. So it's a really good time for me to, A, just supervise student behavior, but B, just know that I'm real and there's a face to my name. I'm not always in my office, very rarely in my office. Just contacting students, talking with them, seeing if there's any problems, seeing how they're doing. So that's one big thing that I do. Another big thing is we really encourage collaboration. So we have these professional learning communities, and I work in a K-6 building. So every team, kindergarten, first, second, and so on, has a professional learning community, and our goal there is really to encourage collaboration. So our reading specialty teachers go there. You have the general ed teachers. Every once in a while, our guidance counselor will come, and also we have an instructional coach. So really, it's just trying to encourage. We never want people to feel like they're in isolation and they're working by themselves, especially when we have new teachers working in the building.
Mm-hmm.
If they're first or second year, that's the biggest reason for burnout, is they just feel like they're on their own. So we want to encourage them to bounce ideas off of each other. Sometimes I'll go in and sub for a teacher that wants to observe another teacher. So they'll just say, hey, can you observe my 30-minute, or can you teach my 30-minute reading lesson in an hour while I go and watch this teacher? So just encouraging that collaboration. And the four main questions of a PLC is, what do we want people to know? How are we going to assess whether they know it? And then what are we going to do for the kids that get it, and what are we going to do for the kids that don't get it? So, and the main resource that we look at is data. We always focusing ourselves on looking at data, not just thinking, well, I think this kid gets it. I don't know for sure. So one big thing that I try to do is give them the resources, give them the knowledge, give them the resources to make decisions. So they may not have time to pull test scores. They may not have time because they're teaching every day. They're in the trenches every day. So I may go back to my office or call somebody from the state and say, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this resource. Can you tell me where to find it? Show me where to find it. And then I can bring that to the PLC time. That's because we meet once a week. That's built into the schedule during the day. Their kids are at specials or PE or art. And my goal is to try to hook them up with the resources that they need. So yeah, that collaboration, giving them resources that they need, supervision, and then there's the maintenance stuff. I don't like it very much, but it needs to be done. I mean, you can't learn if there's a broken pipe in the room. So that kind of stuff I need to be on. For example, this fall we have 2 ponds in our playground. They're not supposed to be ponds, but when it rains really hard, this pond of water shows up and kids can't play on that. So we had some drainage issues that we had to figure out. And so again, figuring out who at the district office do I talk to get this fixed. And I don't want to have teachers not be able to send their kids out to recess because we have a pond in our playground. So I'm sure there's other stuff. It's kind of the thing I love about my job, and the thing that's really hard is I never know what I'm going to get into any given day. So, but I think in general, like the facilities, encouraging collaboration and data, and supervision are kind of the big parts of my job. Parent outreach, communication to parents and families. So I do all calls every once in a while, every other week or so. We just finished up Iowa assessments, so that's our big standardized test that we give. So developing the schedule for that, and kids need accommodations on that. So kind of big questions.
Yeah. You said all call. What's an all call? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so we have a program that's called Blackboard Connect, and it's used in different organizations for different things. But it has a phone component, it has an email component, and a texting component. So I can, with a click of a button, record my voice, and then the same memo that I send out, I just do it in an email. And then I also just make it in a shorter 150 character text.
Wow.
Then just press send, and it goes out to all the families in my district. With that said, we have a 33% ESL population.
Right.
So a Spanish speaking parent will look at that and not know what to do with it. So another great resource that I have in the building is a student family advocate. Her job is to connect community resources with families that need it. And so she has a list of all the families that are ESL and what language they speak.
Oh, wow.
So the text, we'll use Google Translate or something like that, and we'll translate into Swahili or French or Spanish, something like that. So she's a great resource too.
In my experience with Google Translate, it's not very good.
Correct.
So do you typically have somebody that you bounce that off of after you attempt to translate it?
Yeah. So or sometimes they're our first go-to person if they're in the building when we're doing it. We have 3 ELL teachers, and so one of them speaks Spanish and French. So nobody really speaks Swahili, but they can kind of get an idea of the Swahili based off of the French. And the other one just speaks Spanish. So we kind of show them the translation first, but you're right, it's not very accurate at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is your first year as the Twain principal.
Mm-hmm.
Have you set goals? What kind of goals have you set for Mark Twain for the next 5 years?
Great question. One of the first activities that we did as a staff was Mark Twain had a mission statement, and it was good. It was a good mission statement, but usually they're just kind of general and vague. And so we set up, I asked them to construct belief statements off of the mission, and the belief statements formulated around formative assessments, respectful tasks, like what do we really believe is a task that is respectful for a student to complete. It should be differentiated because these kids come into our building, and some kids, they get read to every night by their parents, and they have a schedule, they have a consistent meal time. Some kids don't have that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different levels of opportunities to learn, and we need to differentiate what we give kids based off of that.
Oh. Okay.
So we constructed our belief statements based off of that, and that's really what we go to and revisit all the
Okay.
time.
All right. We got to wrap this up. So, Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Very
Appreciate it.